and it is my great pleasure to introduce Richard Bampfylde, a long-term advocate for an economic system shift going from an economy underpinned by excessive consumption towards a one fit for a global society within planetary boundaries. He has done some amazing work working within SDG partnerships, expertise with the UN, governments, and also public institutions. He was present during the Beirut explosion in 2020 and witnessed the devastating earthquakes taking place in Syria earlier this year. Let's please give Richard a huge round of applause and a great welcome onto our stage.
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see so many people here. Thank you very much for joining. I'd like to say initially, shout out to Amber, Annika, Teresa, and the Extreme team for preparing probably one of, if not the best stages in COP28. So well done, yeah, round of applause. My name's Richard Bampfylde. Thank you for the introduction, Annika. I've worked for several years as a sustainability education and educational consultant, and I'm currently an associate at the Centre for Understanding Sustainable Prosperity in the UK. I'd love to talk to you today about something that happened to me a few years ago, which Annika hinted at, as well as the power of youth, education, global education, and an economic system fit for all society, and fit for the planet. So, it was 8 minutes past 6 on a Tuesday evening when my whole building started shaking. An enormous boom was heard deep in the basement of the building, and none of us really knew exactly what was happening. I looked at my phone and WhatsApp was going absolutely crazy. It was clear that many of my friends were in trouble. I hopped onto my Vespa and raced down the highway towards the capital city, towards Beirut. On the way, all I could see was smoke billowing from the port area of the city. It was terrifying, and I'm shaking a little bit now thinking about it. We didn't actually know at that stage what it was and what we were letting ourselves in for by going down there, but we knew that we had to go down to help our friends. As I got close to the port area, about 500 meters, about a kilometer, it was clear actually that I took the wrong route. I was trying to get to the Mono area of Beirut, but I'd taken the wrong route. Not that any other route was better. It was frankly carnage, utter carnage. And that's all I could say on WhatsApp and social media for a few days afterwards. Carnage, utter carnage. Buildings were half broken down, petrol stations were turned upside down. Literally, a whole petrol station was turned on its head. Glass everywhere, glass from all of the buildings, everywhere. Glass, glass, and glass. People being taken from their buildings, covered in blood, frankly, looking for ambulances. I managed to get to my friend's consultancy office, and she was fine. I was very thankful to say. However, it was only a few hours and a few days later that we realized just how lucky many of us had been on that day, on the 4th of August, 2020. With 218 people losing their lives that day, 7,000 people being injured, many of whom severely injured, 300,000 people made homeless, $15 billion worth of damage. The explosion, which I think many of you will have seen on TV, was one of the largest recorded non-nuclear artificial explosions, 1.1 kilotons of TNT. Well, for those of you that know Lebanon, and the 12 months preceding that date, from the October Revolution, the social, political, and economic crisis, the World Bank called it in the top 3 worst economic crises since 1850, with hyperinflation and a devaluation of the local currency. People on the streets almost every day. Coronavirus, coming a few months later, and the country trying to grapple with that, and then the explosion taking place. It was not surprising that the country was on its knees at that stage. The government resigned a few days after the blast. Let me share a quote with you. from His Excellency UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Nobody has a greater stake in the future, nor more bold solutions to make than young people. In the aftermath of this explosion, young people rose up. It was incredible. Civic entities all across the city, all across the country, all across the region rose up. And I was fortunate enough to be part of one of those entities, facilitating a youth-led movement. We went down onto the streets with not more than a broom in our hand and a makeshift mask across our face, sweeping glass, entering people's homes and just sweeping glass and sweeping glass and sweeping glass until it was outside of the building and then into the rubbish dumps. Once we'd done that, the student council started a donations drive, collecting, excuse me, I'm just going to get some water. My water's gone. I'll be okay. Collecting clothes, yeah, that'd be great. Collecting clothes, toiletries, baby products. Thanks very much. Clothes, baby products, food, toiletries, cash given straight to the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies. Parents ready, on hand, to deliver this straight to the NGOs on the ground. And in the cars on the way down, and I attended one of the cars, it was an opportunity for one of those beautiful moments of intergenerational conversations. Students talking to their children, talking to their parents. Students talking to the parents. I was in the car as well. And it's those intergenerational conversations which are very important, I believe, today with the climate crisis. We need more and more intergenerational conversations. I was inspired by the youth that day, and I decided to stay in Lebanon, and I decided to begin fundraising for the educational system. Many of my friends, and I don't blame them, many of my friends left, Lebanese who could, and foreigners left. But I stayed within the school system, and we fundraised. And the community supported to keep kids in school, to enable those businesses to keep going. I worked for the UN, as Annika said. We did a project in Syria with Habitat. It was important for us to continue supporting disadvantaged youth, which is why we did a fundraising campaign after the Turkish earthquakes. Thanks for raising that, Annika, earlier this year. We also put together a program around liberating education and 21st century skills for disadvantaged youth out of the Brussels conference, the Syria in the region conference. But all while this was happening, since 2020 up until a couple of months ago, I was re-engaging with the literature that I'd read in 2016, 2017, 2018. Books by Professor Tim Jackson from the Center for Understanding Sustainable Prosperity, Prosperity Without Growth, and Economics for a Finite Planet, Post-Growth, Life After Capitalism, even books from the Club of Rome, the Limits to Growth, and their new movement for Earth for All, which you will have seen with transformative economics. And I think some other people have heard of Kate Raworth and her donut economics model as well. So I was re-engaging with this as all of this was going on, and that was my inspiration to shift towards a climate direction. Education. Now, Dana Dejani is a very interesting person, and I'm not sure if she's here today, but I would recommend that you try to seek her out at COP. She's the Vice President for Programs at the Al Ghurair Foundation. She has said that critical thinking and problem solving and having an entrepreneurial mindset and lifelong learning, a passion for lifelong learning, are some of those most important 21st century skills for education. I think you'll agree, right? Now, we can learn content, but actually having that ability to think creatively is something that will stand people apart, particularly in the climate crisis. And that was very important for us at Brussels to talk about those skills to enable more development, particularly within learning education, 21st century skills, and addressing the climate crisis. MENA, we're in the MENA region, of course. I'm not sure if many of you know this. I was quite surprised by this statistic. The OECD countries, 36% of the population are youth. In MENA, that number is, as you can imagine, larger. In fact, it's much larger. It's almost 20 percentage points higher at 55%. And what you've had in the last few years is a drop in family size. In 2014, it was about 3 children per family, dropping down to 2.5 children just last year. So what you've got is an enormous bulge of youth coming into society and youth having an opportunity to make a change. And I believe MENA is one of those opportunities for making a change towards a climate crisis, as is, and if I can point out, we have several young delegates here from the Pakistan youth delegation, and it's great that you're here. I believe that your country is one of those great opportunities as well, and I'll get to that. In 2016, I was delivering a class, and Charles Perry has just been on stage talking about Al Gore. If you don't mind, I'll just mention Al Gore again, people nodding. I remember very visually the frog. Does anyone remember the frog in An Inconvenient Truth? If a frog jumps into a glass, you remember, I think, you're laughing. If a frog jumps into a glass of hot water, it will jump straight out again. But if a frog jumps into a glass of room temperature water, and that water is heated up and heated up and heated up, it doesn't jump out until it's saved. It's actually saved by Al Gore at the time. It's one of those visual images that will stay with me forever. I was teaching a class in 2016 to lower secondary students, and they remember that image. When I talked to them, and in fact I met one of the students last week at the London School of Economics who is studying climate change and studying economic solutions, she still remembers that visual image. Another one is Al Gore sitting on a crane going up and up and up and up as the climate, to mark the air surface temperature increase along with carbon emissions. And he just keeps going up and up and up. It's an incredible moment. And I wonder for youth attending today, what kind of visual images you have around the climate crisis. And maybe this 12 days at COP is an opportunity for you to cement climate opportunities. Maybe this extreme stage is an opportunity for you, maybe today, for you to have some of those visual images. Excuse me. Economics. An ecological economics expert, Robert Costanza, has said that economics is too important to be kept just for economists. It needs to be transdisciplinary, which I would agree with. And I don't know what many of you are studying, but if you're studying economics, then great. And if you're studying other disciplines, then that's also great. Economics in what we're talking about today is very much bringing in everyone and different subject matter experts into this movement. Now, if I can share a quote from Tim Jackson, who I mentioned earlier. People are persuaded to spend money they don't have on things they don't need, to make impressions they don't last. Yeah, I think you've heard this one before. To make impressions that won't last on people they don't care about. I mean, it's true, right? Absolutely true. So this is this excessive consumerism, and it's in the global north and also in the global south, which we need to move away from. Economic growth is a system which is in need of reform. Using GDP as our early measurement for success, using it as the yardstick is frankly another system that's in need of reform. The Kingdom of Bhutan, as many of you will know, has the Gross National Happiness Index, and it would be great if other countries would copy that or develop their own systems. Now, what's happening right now, in fact today, is an opportunity for me to talk about the launch of a new program that's coming out of CUSP, coming out of the Center for Understanding Sustainable Prosperity, where we're connecting students in the north with this new knowledge and students in the south with this new knowledge, starting actually in the UK and Lebanon, but potentially Pakistan being one of our future opportunities after the pilot phase. That would be great, and we can talk about that. To raise awareness about this transformative economics, in order for that to be inculcated into their mindsets, and then in order for them to innovate with it and create and develop and then advocate for that. It would be fantastic for this knowledge to be spread more and more in the wider world. The program is called Shifting the Rhetoric, And if you'd like to talk to me about that after this session, then I'd be very happy to do that. Haroon and Assad, I'm certainly very happy to have a chat with you after this today. Let me take you back for my final closure. The Beirut blast was a horrific incident. It was catastrophic. But out of it came the light at the end of the tunnel through the power of youth. They were fantastic on the streets, cleaning up the city and developing donations. And I thoroughly believe that the power of youth can be a major part of the solution to the climate crisis. It's great to see so many of you here today. I'd love to return to Lebanon in the spring and walk the Lebanese mountain trail. For those of you that know the country, it's a one-month walk from north to south through beauty, absolute beautiful nature. I'd love to do that with the youth, if I can, in spring. And I hope that Lebanese mountain trail will remain preserved and beautiful as it can as we move our way through the climate crisis and find solutions. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.